Tonight, CNN got an inside look at a children's hospital inside Gaza City where the IDF found tunnels that it says Hamas has been using. The IDF is also accusing Hamas of having a command complex beneath the Al-Shifa hospital, the largest one inside of Gaza. The medical director there is describing catastrophic conditions that are happening. Premature babies being wrapped in foil, placed next to hot water just so they can stay warm. As the fighting outside the hospital is intensifying, President Biden issued this message today.
And it's my hope and expectation that there will be less intrusive action relative to the hospital. The hospital must be protected.
And joining me now is Mark Regev, senior advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and the former Israeli ambassador to the United Kingdom. Mr. Regev, thank you for being here. President Biden just told reporters that he believes hospitals in Gaza must be protected. Is Israel preparing to strike the Al-Shifa hospital or to go inside of it?
No, hospitals are protected sites. We don't target hospitals and we don't target patients and doctors. That's obvious. That's part of our creed. What is a situation and what is a legitimate target is the Hamas military infrastructure around and under the hospital. And we have to take them out as surgically as we can without causing damage to the hospital, if at all possible, and to avoid harming the people inside.
Okay, so Israel will not strike the Al-Shifa hospital. Is that correct?
We won't target hospitals. We target Hamas.
What about the thousands of people that are sheltering around that hospital complex? I mean, you can see from the imagery that there are still civilians that are sheltering outside that hospital.
Well, the good thing is the overwhelming majority of civilians have heeded our advice and have fled the area. We asked people about a month ago already to start relocating to the south, and they have done so in their hundreds of thousands. The number of people left there is a very small group. We will still, of course, distinguish between combatants, Hamas, who are our enemy, and we will target, and between the innocent civilians, and make a maximum effort, as I said a moment ago, to be as surgical as is possible in a very complex combat situation.
The Prime Minister said that Israel offered this hospital fuel, but what we are hearing from medical staff is that they're too scared to basically go outside to get it because they're fearful that Israel will fire on them. Are you guaranteeing that for people who go outside to get the fuel, that they will be safe?
100%. We can guarantee that. I can't guarantee that Hamas won't fire upon them, but from our point of view, we brought the fuel to about 250 yards from the hospital, and we said, come and pick it up, because this was enough fuel for generators specifically for the babies who need it for the incubators. And we were trying to say, let's avoid a crisis inside the hospital. We bought the fuel, but as far as we understand, the fuel is still sitting outside the hospital. Hamas has forbidden hospital staff from going and picking it up.
Well, some hospital staff had said it wasn't enough fuel, that it would have only provided about half an hour's worth of power and electricity.
Caitlin, that's the fuel was for the incubators. For the babies, and there's more than enough there, and if they run out, we'll supply more.
You mentioned those babies. There are premature babies, among other patients that are still at this hospital. You talked about these surgical operations that Israel is going to be doing around that hospital, given you believe Hamas is operating from underneath it. But before Israel does whatever it is going to do around Al-Shifa hospital, will it help facilitate the transfer of those children, those preemie babies, and the other patients first?
We've already said that we're willing to do so. We've said that we will facilitate the transfer of people, patients, and if they need to be in ambulances, they can be in ambulances. But we have to understand what's going on here. This is a Hamas-made humanitarian crisis because we provided fuel for the incubators for the babies, and we've suggested ambulances and a way out to move people out. And then Hamas has said no to any humanitarian solution. They close it off. They want pictures that will put international pressure on Israel to cease our military operation against them. And from their point of view, they're trying to be smart because we're hitting them hard. We're destroying their military machine. They want us to stop. And so they're holding hostage everyone in that hospital, preventing humanitarian assistance, preventing the fuel, preventing the relocation of people in ambulances, just so they can try to galvanize international pressure on Israel to stop striking against their military machine. And what they're doing, of course, is a war crime, Caitlin.
Is Israel willing? How do you conduct your operation if there are still children inside that hospital, premature children who right now are struggling to stay alive based on the accounts that we've heard?
So I'm not sure, what else we can do. We provided fuel for the incubators so they could be safely inside the hospital for the time being. And we're willing to facilitate ambulances to transfer them out of the hospital if they choose to leave, which is obviously the best solution. And both of those ideas, Hamas has vetoed.
But what if they're too
that is
sick
the
to
problem.
leave?
There are solutions, but Hamas is deliberately putting babies in danger for their own propaganda purposes. But Caitlin, you shouldn't be surprised. How did they butcher Israeli babies when they crossed the border on October 7th? I saw pictures of Israeli babies burnt to a cinder. I saw pictures of Israeli babies that were shot in their cots with multiple bullet wounds from machine gun fire in their cots. And of course, you know that babies were also kidnapped by Hamas. Who kidnaps babies? Who shoots babies? So we should have no qualms whatsoever, no problem understanding that Hamas is willing also to sacrifice Palestinian babies for its crazy, radical, extremist agenda.
I've seen that footage as well, and no one is defending Hamas here. But my question is, what about the children who are inside the Al-Shifa hospital right now? And will you guarantee their safety first before Israel does whatever it is going to do, whatever operation you do have planned around the Al-Shifa hospital?
We will make every effort. And in accordance to international law, we distinguish between combatants, that's the Hamas terrorists who are our target, and non-combatants who are civilians. And we will be as surgical as is humanly possible. It's very difficult, I admit that, Caitlin, because you've got a situation where Hamas is deliberately abusing a humanitarian site, a site that is, according to all the wars of armed conflict, you're not supposed to put your arms in a hospital. They're deliberately holding the patients there, the babies, the medical staff as hostages to protect their military machine, which is right under the hospital. It's complex, it's difficult. But if any finger of blame should be pointed, it must be at Hamas that has deliberately abused the hospital, putting its military machine deliberately. It's premeditated crime. They've deliberately built their military machine, their command and control, their network of tunnels that lead to rocket launching sites and arms depots and other underground fortresses. They've deliberately built all that under a hospital.
Ambassador Mark Regev, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you for having me.